Niccolò Machiavelli once wrote in The Prince, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." That line exposes something most people never fully grasp. Power often hides behind restraint, and the quiet person in the room is sometimes the one guiding the outcome. Many people grow up believing influence belongs to the loudest voice, the most aggressive personality, the person who constantly explains, argues, and persuades. That belief is comfortable, but it is dangerously incomplete. The real advantage often belongs to the person who understands silence, restraint, and carefully placed kindness. There's a silent power trick that most people never recognize, and once you see it, you start noticing how the most influential individuals quietly shape the behavior of everyone around them without raising their voice, without begging for approval, and without revealing their intentions. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is pressure. When people feel silence in a conversation, they rush to fill it. They explain too much, reveal information they plan to hide, justify their actions, and expose what truly matters to them. The disciplined observer does not interrupt this process. They simply allow it to unfold. This is where influence begins. When you allow someone else to talk into the quiet space you create, they reveal the map of their priorities, fears, insecurities, and desires. That information becomes leverage, not through aggression, but through understanding. And before going further, make one simple commitment. Write this in the comments right now. I'm trying the silent power trick for 7 days. A small public promise changes behavior. Once you say it, you will start paying attention to your reactions, your timing, your restraint. Now understand the deeper structure of this method. The silent power trick is built on 3 combined forces: measured kindness, disciplined silence, and sharp observation. Most people separate these things, but when used together, they become a subtle form of influence that is extremely difficult to resist. Start with presence. Presence means that when you enter a conversation, you are calm, attentive, and unhurried. You are not rushing to impress anyone. You are not scrambling to defend your position. Your stillness sends a message before you even speak. You are comfortable, and you are in control of yourself. Humans instinctively trust calm stability more than frantic energy. When someone feels that steadiness from you, their guard lowers without them realizing it. Next comes the calibrated favor. A small favor offered at the right moment has extraordinary psychological impact. Not a dramatic sacrifice, not something that exhausts you, but a precise act that solves a small problem for someone else. Perhaps you share useful information, provide a quick solution, or remove an obstacle they were facing. When this happens, without expectation of immediate reward, something subtle occurs inside the other person's mind. An imbalance appears. Human psychology naturally seeks balance. People feel an internal urge to return the favor, to restore fairness, to justify your kindness by cooperating with you later. What many call generosity can therefore become a strategic investment in future influence. After the favor, something critical must happen. Silence. Do not explain your motives. Do not ask for appreciation. Do not remind them what you did. Silence magnifies the act. When people are left alone with your quiet generosity, they begin constructing their own interpretation. They often assume positive motives and begin seeing you as trustworthy or principled. This interpretation becomes stronger than anything you could say about yourself. The most convincing reputation is the one other people create in their own minds. Another part of the silent power trick is controlled disclosure. Many people believe influence comes from revealing everything about themselves, sharing constant emotional updates, or exposing every insecurity in the name of authenticity. That is not strength. That is surrender. Strategic vulnerability works differently. You reveal small truths at carefully chosen moments. A brief admission of fault, a single honest reflection, or a quiet acknowledgement of imperfection. Then you stop speaking. This kind of limited honesty lowers defenses without weakening your authority. The other person feels invited to open up, but you remain composed and deliberate. What you reveal is chosen. What you conceal is equally important. Observation is the final component. Most individuals listen only long enough to prepare their reply. The silent strategist listens to understand patterns. They notice what topics energize a person, what subjects create hesitation, which stories are repeated, which concerns are avoided. Every repeated phrase reveals a priority. Every defensive reaction reveals a vulnerability. Over time, these observations create a psychological map of the person you are dealing with. With that map, influence becomes subtle rather than forceful. You do not push people directly. You guide conversations toward outcomes they already feel comfortable accepting. This method becomes especially powerful in negotiations. Loud negotiators create conflict and resistance. When you offer a small concession first and then remain silent, something remarkable happens. The other side begins speaking, often revealing limits they never intended to share. They explain why they cannot accept certain terms, which quietly exposes the terms they actually can't accept. The silence becomes a mirror, reflecting their priorities. Leadership follows the same pattern. Leaders who constantly command attention often lose respect. Leaders who quietly remove obstacles, support their team, and then step back, create loyalty. People prefer to follow someone who appears steady rather than someone who demands obedience. A quiet leader allows others to feel they are choosing their own commitment, even when the direction has been subtly shaped. Personal relationships are also transformed by this discipline. When conflict appears, most people rush to defend themselves or attack in response. Silence changes the dynamic. A thoughtful action that addresses the issue, followed by calm restraint, allows the other person space to reconsider their position. Human beings want to see themselves as fair and reasonable. When you give them room to reclaim that identity, they often soften their stance. Restraint, therefore, becomes more powerful than argument. There will be moments when others test your silence. Some individuals rely on emotional noise to control situations. They may accuse you of being distant, cold, or mysterious. This pressure is predictable. Do not react impulsively. When dramatic personalities realize their tactics produce no reaction, they eventually lose interest. Your calm becomes the stable ground others must adapt to. Discipline is essential here. The silent power trick fails when used impulsively or selfishly. Influence should not exist solely to dominate others. It should exist to protect your boundaries, guide fair outcomes, and build alliances that benefit everyone involved. Without a moral compass, influence becomes manipulation. With integrity, it becomes leadership. Practice begins in small situations. Pause 7 seconds before responding in a tense conversation. Offer a helpful gesture to someone who did not expect it. Admit a minor mistake calmly instead of defending it endlessly. Observe the reaction. Notice how the tone of the conversation changes. These small experiments train your mind to resist the instinct to react immediately. Over time, you will develop a different posture in social situations. Instead of chasing attention, you will allow attention to come to you. Instead of fighting for control, you will shape the environment quietly. The results will accumulate slowly but powerfully. People will begin trusting your judgment more. Your words will carry more weight because you use fewer of them. Your boundaries will be respected because you present them calmly and without apology. Many individuals spend their entire lives believing power requires noise, aggression, and constant persuasion. They burn energy, proving themselves again and again. The silent power trick follows a different philosophy. Kindness becomes strategy, silence becomes pressure, observation becomes intelligence. Those who master these elements rarely appear dominant, yet their influence spreads through every room they enter. Remember this clearly. Restraint is not weakness. Silence is not emptiness. Both are tools that shape human behavior when used deliberately. Begin with one conversation today. Offer one thoughtful act. Pause before responding. Observe more than you speak. The world will not shift overnight, but patterns will begin to reveal themselves. When you understand those patterns, influence stops being a struggle and becomes a quiet craft, practiced through discipline and patience. And if you made the commitment earlier, honor it. 7 days of practicing the silent power trick will teach you more about human behavior than years of arguing ever could. Power rarely announces itself loudly. The strongest form of influence moves quietly, leaving others convinced they reached their own decisions, even though your restraint guided the path all along.